Did Jake Oettinger live up to the hype? Was Casey DeSmith a reliable backup? And how did Pete DeBoer steer the ship? Our season finale of Season Grades next.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Welcome to the season finale of our 2024-25 season grades. And today we're doing the goaltenders, Jake Oettinger and Casey DeSmith. And heck, I needed a third segment. So why not rate the season of head coach Pete DeBoer, who of course is no longer with the Dallas Stars. A jam-packed Monday edition for you. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And as always, let me know your letter grade in the comment section below. I have a feeling we could have some of the hottest takes, some of those controversial grades of the season in today's show. So let's hop right in. We'll start with the Dallas Stars' number one goaltender, Jake Oettinger. And I found a lot of intriguing numbers from Otter this season, especially in the postseason, some of the postseason numbers, and it may give you an idea on how Otter played number one, but also how the Stars were defending in front of Jake Oettinger as well. But let's just go over some of the overall numbers this season. He appeared in 58 games. That was the second most of his career. When you look at most of his numbers, it seems to stack up as his second best season in his career. The number one being his 2022-23 campaign. He appeared in 62 games. But anyways, from this past season, 2.59 goals against average and a .909 save percentage. In the postseason, he appeared in 18 games, had a 2.82 goals against average and a .905 save percentage as well. His overall shot number, so he faced 1,611 shots, second most of his career. He made 1,464 saves. That was second most of his career as well. But to get an idea of where he ranked in the NHL, his goals against average was 12th at 2.59. His save percentage was 12th as well at .909. So he's just outside the top 10 in both of those key categories in the NHL. If you look at his overall goals against numbers, he gave up 147 goals this past season. That was 11th in the NHL as well. Now, to some of the analytics, some of the advanced numbers. This comes from Money Puck. You usually see this thrown out there quite a bit during the season. Goal save above expected. That's always one of the key categories for netminders. He finished the regular season 10.7 in 58 games played. That was 22nd in the NHL. This is all situations as well. If you use the playoffs as a qualifier, he ranked about fourth if you look at goaltenders that played at least qualifier minutes. Or you did minimum games played, let's do 10. He finished fourth in the NHL at 4.7 behind Frederik Andersen, Logan Thompson, and no surprise here, the Stanley Cup winner and Sergei Bobrovsky. But if you do the qualifier up to 15 games, there was only three goaltenders that appeared in at least 15 games. That was Stuart Skinner, Oettinger, and Bobrovsky. Jake Oettinger was second, and only behind Bobrovsky. So he measured pretty well in some of those areas. If you look at some of the regular season numbers at 5-on-5, he's really somewhere between 25 and 15, just kind of hovering, I would say, in the middle of the pack. But this is some of the numbers that were a bit eye-popping to me, at least, just from the postseason. This is from Natural Stat Trick, and these are even strength numbers. We'll actually go to all strength numbers here in the postseason. So shots against, he faced 502 shots against in the 18 playoff games. The only goaltender that faced more shots than him was Sergei Bobrovsky and he had 5 more games played than Jake Oettinger. You look at saves, Otter 454. That was second most in the NHL in his 18 games. And of course, you may say that he faced the most amount of shots, so it's not very surprising, but he gave up 48 goals. That was also second most in the NHL. His save percentage was .904. That was 7th. His goals against, as we mentioned earlier, was 2.82. That was 11th. But then you look at his expected goals against. So this sort of gives you an idea of maybe how the Stars were defending in front of him a bit. It was 54.92. That was second most in the 18 games. Bobrovsky had it worse, 63.71, but you also have to factor in he had 5 more games, more than Oettinger, and just like Otter did, he had to face McDavid and Draisaitl quite a bit. High danger shots against, 133 against Jake Oettinger. The only goaltender that faced more was Sergei Bobrovsky. You look at rush attempts against, and this is where it's heavily in favor of Jake Oettinger, 55. The next closest was Logan Thompson against with Washington. Actually, he faced 49 chances against. I thought that was pretty remarkable. So 55 rush shot attempts against. This is all strengths in the postseason, so more than any other goaltender in the NHL, which I think gives you a glimpse of what Dallas was like trying to defend in front of him, and sort of the danger that teams were creating against the Dallas Stars and Jake Oettinger. And I know the final series against Edmonton is going to get a lot of replay. And as I stated many, many times before, he was outplayed by Stuart Skinner. The team in front of him was not helping his case that much, which led to him being pulled in Game 5 of the Western Conference Final, and then eventually all hell sort of breaking loose in some ways, and I think pretty much the catalyst to Pete DeBoer being fired, who we'll get to a bit later on today. But the Stars just were not that stout in front of him, and just giving up a lot of dangerous, really golden opportunities to the opposition. I mean, just look at some of the goals the Stars gave up in that Western Conference Final. Just wide open guys, wide open players. And we saw that at points in some of the other series as well against Colorado and Winnipeg. Just some of the goals. Also, some of the luck the Stars had. Think back to the amount of funky goals and ricochets for both sides. The Stars favored, got some bounces themselves, but the unfortuitous bounces against Dallas were just insane. Lindell, Petrovic, I think Hartley had like 3 or 4 go off of them. Just so many unfortunate bounces that went against the Stars as well. And I think when you take the entire season in a nutshell, look at some of the numbers, I think it's fair to look at him and be like, yeah, was Jake Oettinger not his best in the Western Conference Final? No, but there's no way the Stars get to the Western Conference Final without him. And again, I can already hear the overrated comments already being typed out in the comment section below, and that's fair. But look at just look at the numbers, and frankly, look at how his peers look at him. Look at how he's voted upon in other sources and how they rank goaltenders. No, has he gotten the benefit of the doubt to be in the elite category? No, not at all. But he's comfortably within the top 10, like easily. I think that's fair to say. But again, he's not in Bobrovsky or where Vasilevsky was. He's not in that category yet. He's yet to prove in that for extended periods of time, and we hope he can get there at some point. But my grade for Jake is just a solid B for this season. I think B, maybe closer to a B minus than a B plus for what we got out of Oettinger. I thought throughout the regular season, some of the more consistent Jake Oettinger we have gotten than we may have the previous year. He didn't give up a ton of the less fluky goals, and we all know the issues in front of him. I mean, the Stars were having Cody Ceci and Lyubushkin play like 20 minutes a night and in the Stanley Cup playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to help him out. And again, he has to be a part of the solution. I think that's fair to say, but I thought it was a pretty solid season. And again, he's got to be better in some of these big moments when you get to the Western Conference Final. He needs to outplay the other netminder at the other end of the rink. But I think just all in all, a pretty solid season, not phenomenal. And that's why I give him a B for this past season. So that is my letter grade for Jake Oettinger in 2024-25. Let's switch over to his backup, Casey DeSmith, who was doing his best version of Scott Wedgwood the past couple of seasons, and maybe even a bit better. We'll break down his campaign in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs. Put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. You've been in a spot sometimes where you just need to hire right away and the pressure's on. Every day without the right person can be a setback. That's where Indeed sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by right candidates right now. I've used Indeed before. I got my last job because of Indeed with the Corpus Christi Ice Rays. It can be a great tool, find some wonderful jobs, and it can help you find candidates if you're a business owner as well. Now you can speed up the hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast, Locked On Stars. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring Indeed is all you need. Casey DeSmith had himself a phenomenal regular season for the Dallas Stars in a backup role. Of course, he was signed in the offseason, $1 million for a couple seasons. And, they just need him to keep Dallas in the games he's in. He usually gets tasked, most backup goaltenders do, with the second night of back-to-back. Some of those rougher starts on road trips, and he just performed so well for the Dallas Stars throughout the regular season. And so well, he finished 12th in goals saved above expected this past season in the NHL, 15.9 in the 27 games he played. And of course, he didn't play as much as the other netminders. His sample size isn't as large, but he had a 2.59 goals against average in those 27 games and a .915 save percentage. In the two games he appeared in the postseason, 3.42 goals against, .882 save percentage. Once again, we're not really putting much stock in those. Similar to Oettinger, his numbers from this past season sort of just rank his third best of his career. So his save percentage was .915, as I mentioned, 2.59 goals against. Also posted a couple of shutouts. Man, he had that run where he was making 40 plus saves in like 6 straight games. I remember the series alone against Utah, the season series alone for Casey DeSmith was out of this world. He made a couple of just dazzling performances against the hockey club, which is now the Mammoth this past season. Some interesting stuff here. I noticed at 5-on-5 in the regular season, his save percentage was .928, which was 8th in the NHL. That's up there with Vasilevsky, Hellebuck, and some others. So, he was right there sort of in the upper echelon of the NHL. To give you some perspective where his save percentage ranked in the NHL, he was 5th. And again, smaller sample size, but that's nothing to scoff at. His goals against average dropped to 2.59. That was 13th. It was the same as Jake Oettinger's as well, and about half the starts, of course. But his advanced numbers, they said, looked really strong. Had a couple of those shutouts. And what you ask out of your backup netminders, just to help you stay within reach and keep you in some hockey games. And he did that so well. A lot of Stars fans, including myself, were a bit weary after Scott Wedgwood leaving, after what he was able to provide, not only with his performances, but his locker room presence. He was very loved within the dressing room, and Casey DeSmith came in and was excellent, paired alongside Jake Oettinger, and they needed him at points to take on a heavier load when Oettinger was struggling, and they needed to get him some rest, and was really, really strong. Just some more numbers, advanced numbers, is expected goals against this past season. So Jake Oettinger actually ranked 8th. This is all strengths throughout the regular season. And Casey DeSmith was down at 40th at 79.27. But again, he only played in 27 games. You average that out. I mean, he's probably going to fit somewhere within the top 10 if he played a full season's worth of a number one netminder. But of course, he's not going to get that. Faced 193 high danger shots during the regular season. Again, we can't really get into the postseason stuff. He played in 2 games and he didn't start, and then he just came in relief. I think he appeared in that game 3, maybe in game 4 against Colorado when the Stars were getting boat race. They needed Oettinger to rest. And then, of course, he came in to back up in that infamous game 5 and it gave Dallas a chance to win that game. Like all things told, he kind of held them in it as well after he surrendered a goal like 10 seconds in after the Stars pulled Oettinger. Just a crazy experience, which I think is almost exactly 2 months ago, or maybe it's 3 now when we're recording this episode today. But DeSmith was just a really solid addition for the Stars this past season, and played extremely well and high level. I mean, clearly better than a backup at 33 years of age, and he's going to be here for the next couple seasons as well, backing up Jake Oettinger. And it looked like him and Otter had a really strong relationship. And I'm curious to see where it goes throughout this regular season. Expected goals against through the regular season in all situations. Jake Oettinger was 14th in the NHL, and DeSmith was 43rd. 80.86 expected goals against in those 27 games. Wins above replacement. That'll be pretty interesting. See where he ranks. He actually he ranks 12th at 2.64 wins above replacement. So sort of like WAR, which is a big deal in baseball, of course. But Casey DeSmith was 12th. I wonder where Otter is on this list. He was 22nd. And again, Otter's numbers were not dazzling this past season, but I think when you look at this goes the same for Casey DeSmith. Just think back to some of these games and remember that stretch from February to April, to the end of the season. Like the Stars were just giving up 30 plus shots at will, 40 plus shots. And it was like a stretch of 5 games in a row. They're getting 40 shots. The Stars netminders were just getting peppered. And it's not like it was shots from distance the entire time. They were facing some quality looks from the opposition, whether it was the Sharks or whether it was the Florida Panthers, right? Or whatever great team from this past season you want to throw out there. Just really hard minutes for DeSmith and company. DeSmith faced a total of 761 shots this past season. He gave 65 goals. He had 696 saves. He played 1,500 minutes, just north of that. That was 4th in his career, which sort of maps out with how many games he played as well. And all the seasons he's had more minutes played. Of course, he played in more games as well. But this is sort of where you would want him to live, right? He's going to get somewhere 25 to 35 games. Sort of seems like the best amount for DeSmith, barring any injuries, of course, and Oettinger being healthy. But my grade for DeSmith, I think he deserves an A. I don't know how you really give him less than that. Exactly what you're looking for out of your backup netminder. Postseason, he got into some tough games, so the numbers don't bear that out, but we can't take any stock in those, and I don't think we'll let that affect our letter grade to DeSmith. So a solid A from Casey DeSmith, the backup for the Dallas Stars. Really, really strong season. And the Stars, I think, got a decent one to be a reliable backup here in the near future. Now, to Pete DeBoer, we've discussed him enough. We talked about Pete DeBoer's legacy in an episode, I guess a month ago now. But let's go ahead and rate Pete DeBoer. How harsh this summer are you going to be? I feel like I'm going to be pretty harsh for what we got out of Pete DeBoer, although he had a phenomenal regular season. So let's end it with DeBoer in his campaign in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing. Whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. You've been using FanDuel to track your favorite matchups before. The app keeps it fresh. You got new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use. It's fast to pay out. It makes regular season games feel like must-watch events, whether that's for the Texas Rangers, whether you're watching the Open, the British Open this week out at Royal Portrush. That's going to be a ton of fun. Get in on the action with FanDuel. Sprinkle a little money on the Open or Texas Rangers, maybe the All-Star game, which is coming out here in the next couple of days. What is it, tomorrow now when this episode drops? So FanDuel allows you to have a lot of fun. New to FanDuel, it's the best time to get involved. New customers can bet just $5 and $50 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Peter DeBoer. Oh, Pete. We've probably talked about him too much at this point, but for good reason, right? The Stars, of course, made a drastic change up front. So Pete DeBoer, this past season, led the Stars to a 50-26-6 record. They finished second in the Central Division with 106 points and then failed in the Western Conference Finals for the third straight year. Really intriguing to look at just DeBoer's sort of coaching history. 3 of his top 4 seasons in the NHL, 3 of the top 4 of his career were with Dallas. The only one that was better than his Dallas tenure, 2011-12 with the New Jersey Devils, which was his first season, I believe, with New Jersey. And it was. He made the Eastern Conference Finals, or he actually went to the Stanley Cup. Apologies there. But yeah, he went to the Stanley Cup that year. 50 wins, 26 losses, 106 points. For point total, it was his third most. For wins, it was his second most this past season. And a really, really strong finish. 18 playoff games, of course, which we've talked about quite a bit. Just from last year to this year, just to give you some comparison, Stars had 275 goals for total. They had 294 a year ago. Offense not quite as potent, but they still finished they were second last year in total goals for. They were third this year. So not a huge drop off. Goals against, 222 this season. That ranks 6th in the NHL. Total goals against. Last year, 232, so a bit more, and they finished 8th that season. We know the Stars' overall team numbers were rather decent as well. I do want to bring up some of the team stats. If you look at the goals against average, per team, the Stars ranked 6th in the NHL, 2.71. Goals for, they ranked 3rd, 3.35, which, again, sort of doesn't compute. And maybe some of you have a similar view on it, just because the amount of complaining and straight up bitchiness I feel like I had about the Stars season. And again, it was a bust, right? They didn't win the Stanley Cup, but you look at these numbers, you're like, my goodness, this team is really good, but they weren't at the same time. I don't know. It's really, really funky when you look at it. I digress. Okay. Power play percentage. We all know awful power play to begin the regular season. So they finished 22% in the regular season. That was 17th in the NHL. So about middle of the pack, but we all know it was horrific. The first 3 months of the season, they sort of pulled it back towards the end. Their PK was just lights out for a large chunk of the season. They finished in the top 5 at 4th with 82%. So most categories, team-wise, Stars were in the top 10, if not top 5 this past season. So another strong year. But we all know about the Stars debacle in the postseason. We talked about the Stars' ability to score 5-on-5 this past postseason. Let's just go to the playoffs. The Stars scored a total of 25 goals at 5-on-5, which is 4th in the NHL, which is not great. But you look at even some of the teams above them. Toronto, who played 5 less games, had 27. Edmonton 52, Florida 63. So not a huge surprise. But I mean, even this should tell you about how tough the Stars are scoring 5-on-5. St. Louis played seven games, and I know Hellebuck and the Jets were a bit leaky in that series, but 21 5-on-5 goals in 7 games. The Stars had 25, and they played double the amount. So not very good. They gave up 35 goals against at 5-on-5. That was 3rd most. So their goal differential, not very good. You look at the expected goals for at 5-on-5, the Stars were 3rd. But again, you have to take it with a grain of salt. Like the Stars had more games. So when you sort of compare this to some other teams, it's really not that great. They just struggled to create a lot of offense. And we know they really struggled, especially in that Western Conference final, which for whatever reason continues to be a theme with the Stars. All this being said, DeBoer gets a D from me, just a D. And yes, that is harsh, but I think he deserves a failing grade for what we saw again. And maybe I'll say this, the highest I could give him if I had to, like a C, because the postseason just lives rent-free in my mind. And we knew what the Stars were going to be in the regular season, and they were strong again. But push comes to shove, he just seems to not be able to make the necessary adjustments when you have to. And some of those comments, we're not that type of team, I think just really showed the innate inevitability with the Stars they just weren't ready for that style. They weren't ready to really put it all on the line when your head coach says something like that. We're not built for that. We're not built to go after the other opposition when they're going after our number 1 center. Just, it's not great. It shows some weakness. Comes back to when I called the Stars soft after that Game 4 loss. I was like, this team's so soft. I got a little flack for that. But the more we're removed from it, the more I believe it to some degree. I feel vindicated a bit, especially when your new head coach comes in and says, I'd like to up the physicality a bit more. I got torn to shreds in the comments when I called the team soft. But the more I did apologize for it. Look, I was emotional. Okay. I was fed up. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I give him a D. So there you go. That's going to do it. That's our season finale for our 2024-25 season grades. I hope y'all enjoyed those. I know they can be a bit tedious and not all that exciting, but look, we need some stuff to break down, to talk about, and it's fun to kind of look back at some of the moments, certain highlights of different players, and kind of weight regular season versus postseason. And I think every ranking, at least for myself, sort of comes with expectations I had for a certain player going in. I think that that affects the grade as well. So I do enjoy it, and now I got a whole notebook filled of each player from this past year, and I think we can do it again as the years go by. But that's going to do it for this Monday edition of Locked On Stars. I want to thank you, as always, for the love and support kicking off this week. It's going to be a bit of an interesting week, by the way. I have to go back down to Corpus to sort of move stuff out. I'll be moving apartments. So I got to kind of move out, and then I'm coming back to Dallas for a couple of weeks. So it's going to be a funky week, but I hope to just get episodes out and continue to bring enough content for you all. So be on the lookout for that. But thank you. As always, please be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, never miss an episode of Locked On Stars. And I hope everybody's having a great Monday. I had a fantastic weekend, and let's kick that week off on a high note. So let's get a few wins today, and have a great week. So long, Stars fans. See ya.